And along with the information, he was getting money and whatnot. And so I don't know where he pulled it. I said there was a body buried in my house in Oakville. And when I got back from prison in Texas, I wanted to go by there and reminisce. And they flattened the whole house. They took out the pool, all the structures, dug up the land looking for the body.
Wow.
And needless to say, there was no body there. But this is people, you get in the courtroom and the prosecutors, they say, well, you've got to make a deal with the devil to get these kind of guys, and they truly are making a deal with the devil because these guys have no morals, no ethics. They're not doing this because they've got religion or they've had an epiphany that they want to do the right thing for society. These guys are doing this because they got themselves in a jam. Mm-hmm. And they want to get out of it. They want to extract themselves from their own judicial problems, and they want money in the process.
You're talking about guys who
informants.
Yeah.
I've had a
and for a while there, when you left and you went into bad standing, were people trying to accuse you that that's what you were doing?
Yeah, they accused me of being an informant. My response to them was, well, if I was an informant, don't you think all the high echelon guys would be locked up right now? And I go, has anybody got in trouble?
Plus, you're still right here.
Yeah,
you're right here. You're not running from anybody.
No, I won't run from anybody. And whether that's good or bad or indifferent, I don't mean any disrespect to anyone, and I'm not challenging anybody. But I got nothing to hide. I didn't do anything wrong. I was offered a lot of money, John, by the government to become a witness. They said their exact words were, "We know, you know where the bodies are buried. You name. What do you want?" This was in 2011 when I got arrested. And they had a tape recorder on the table, and they said, there's a murder contract. Make a deal with us, and we'll push play, and you can hear who's conspiring against you in your own club. And I looked at him, and I said, you know what? I'll take my chances on the street. Because I know how those guys operate. They're very duplicit. They have their own agenda, and when they're done with you, they're done with you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And your code's your code.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I lived on this street by the codes of the street, and that's how I want to go out. And, I write these books. I don't compromise anybody in what I say. And I am going to say a few things in this new book. But the players are dead. They can't indict them. And I'll tell you, historically in the criminal world, when somebody dies, they wind up taking the heat for everybody. Oh, he did everything. I didn't do anything. Right. Is the standard saying. So, I didn't compromise anybody on Outlaw Chronicles. I didn't compromise anybody on my stage play.
What's the biggest misconception about the Hells Angels or the outlaw biker world?
Well, I think there's, the dirty clothes is, something that left ages ago, decades ago. Sharing our women, never saw that happening. I mean, certainly provocative women in the club, but, not anybody's wife or girlfriend. And I'm not saying anything bad about those provocative women.
No, God
they
bless
were them. Who they are. Never compromise anybody. I don't want anybody to get in trouble for me. And I'll tell you, Guy, I mentioned Guy earlier, Castellone, he was the president of San Diego, probably one of the fiercest guys I've ever met. No nonsense. As a leader, he led from the front, and I just was writing about him last week, so he's on my mind. But went to prison for machine gunning Jingles and Redbeard off their bikes on the freeway.
He was the one who did it?
Yeah, he's the one who did it. Went and did the time for it. And he, till the very end, I was told, he died of cancer here a couple of years ago. He would stand up in the meetings anytime anybody said anything derogatory about me. And he goes, when are you guys going to wake up? He goes, we'd all be in jail if he was doing that stuff. He goes, what's wrong with you, man? And he goes, you know where he's at. He's not hiding. I know where he's at. And he goes, let's stop this bullshit. And, a member that communicated with me after he called me and told me a guy died. And he just said, I want you to know, he goes, guy backed you till the end.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, and I think about him often. Gorgeous guy was his name. Good looking Italian guy,
We started off the conversation, you guys were talking about kids, and I'm just wondering, can you just talk to me a little bit about fatherhood? And we mentioned, one of your daughters represented you.
Yeah.
I'm interested in how that felt. What was it like to raise kids in that world? You said, your son was a member.
Right.
I'm just
very
interested
complex. It's a delicate balancing act, and I'll tell you, I'm very open-minded. I like my children, as I like the women in my life, to be their own person. To blossom and to follow their own path. My daughter, I'll tell you an example. When the war was going on with the Mongols, my first wife, Cheryl, my high school sweetheart, who Beverly was good friends with as well, was getting on me. She goes, this club thing is taking over your life. You spend no time with us. I read about all this stuff in the newspapers. I hear about it on the radio, TV. You won't talk about it. She goes, who are we now? And so I wanted to show her who I was. I wanted to spend some time with them, and just the Hell's Angel lifestyle. So I go down. I always drove a real low key type vehicle. I still do to this day, but. I actually don't have a vehicle this day. When I left Spain, I didn't drive in Spain for 3 years, and I kind of liked coming back, starting over. But anyways, I'm getting off track. So I took the kids to Santa Monica, took them to the pier on the carousel, and all that stuff. And on the way home, I was driving with the family, and some guy cut me off once. Cut me off again, gave me the finger, and I'm just biting my tongue, John. You can imagine I'm in my 20s. I'm in the midst of this war. I want to spend a nice, quiet day with the family, and give you some insight into my daughter and my relationship with my daughter. The guy cut me off, slammed his brakes on. There was a car in front of him, and then he turned around and he gave me the finger. That's it. I can't take it no more. So I jumped out of the car. He rolled the window up, and he's giving me the finger still, but he made an error. He forgot to lock the door. So I opened the door, I pull him out at a 45-degree angle, give him a couple of head slams, and work him over. And, I get back in the car, and, now my wife, Cheryl's just like looking at me fuming, Yeah. Georgie, he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
He's a little kid. And there's Mariah, like this looking at me I'm driving, I'm looking at the mirror. She just won't take her eyes off me. It's been 20 minutes, and I'm looking at her, and then she finally breaks a little smile, and it was like, I get it, Dad, So she understands me, and it's interesting. She graduated from law school. She was the youngest graduate ever in past the California bar. She was 22. Wow. The feds immediately, ATF specifically, were trying to figure out a way. They went to the bar association and were trying to hold back her